Activists from environmental and human rights groups rallied last week near the New York courthouse where the Shell oil trial was to take place. Steve Kretzman is head of the rights group Oil Change International and is a former advisor for Saro-Wiwa. He summed up the plaintiff's view.
This was a case where a multinational corporation had completely conspired with the military government to silence peaceful opposition.
Ken Saro-Wiwa was an accomplished writer who started a peaceful movement protesting alleged environmental destruction and abuses against the Ogoni people in the Niger Delta by multinational oil companies, including Shell. He also said the people weren't getting a share of the oil wealth.
In recovering the money that has been stolen from us, I do not want any blood spilt. Not of an Ogoni man, not of any strangers amongst us. We are going to demand our rights peacefully, non-violently, and we shall win.
Saro-Wiwa's movement remained peaceful despite government repression, but in 1995 he and 8 others were executed after a trial by a military tribunal on charges they murdered 4 other Ogoni leaders. According to the lawsuit filed by Earth Rights International and the Center for Constitutional Rights, Shell Oil encouraged and funded Nigeria's military government to imprison the activists on the false charge. Ken Saro-Wiwa's son, Ken Saro-Wiwa Jr., is one of the plaintiffs.
We feel their fingerprints are all over the tortures, the murders, the extrajudicial executions of Ogoni people between 1993 and 1996.
Shell Oil officials refused to be interviewed, but have said the allegations are false. Jonathan Drimmer is an attorney who advises multinational corporations. He says a large settlement by Shell would represent victory for the activist groups who filed this and other such cases in U.S. federal courts, because it would fund many similar new lawsuits.
Each one of these cases that actually gets to this stage, right up to the door of trial, are important cases. They're important in demonstrating that these types of issues, human rights violations, can indeed make it through a judicial system and be heard.
International outrage over the execution of the activists contributed to the fall of Nigeria's military government. But according to environmentalists and human rights leaders, environmental abuses continue, particularly gas flaring, the practice of burning off byproducts of oil extraction.
If you drive through the Niger Delta, if you walk through villages, you'll find communities who live beside these enormous flames which burn 24 hours.
Ben Amunwa is with a group called Remember Saro-Wiwa.
It's a cocktail of toxins released when Shell and other oil companies burn gas like this. Toxins like benzene have been seeping into the water supply, have been ruining crops and causing cancer amongst local communities for many years.
Observers of the case say that unless there is a settlement, the plaintiffs will next seek to persuade the judge to include another defendant, the subsidiary company Shell Nigeria. Carolyn Weaver, VOA News, New York.